Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior and welcome back to another Mortal Kombat video. Now in today's history of breakdown and analysis, today I'll be talking about the tragic tale and fall of the yellow cybernetic ninja, Cyrax. Now in order for me to cover and talk about Cyrax, I must first go all the way back to that of the original timeline, cover his very first appearance, his fall in Armageddon, and rebirth in the rebooted timeline. So without any further ado, let's get on to the history of Cyrax. Now first off, let's go all the way back to the original timeline, as it is where the character debuted. Now while Cyrax may in fact be a notable face amongst the Lin Kuei, Cyrax wasn't in fact born into the clan of assassins. Originating from South Africa, Botswana, he is in fact a child that was kidnapped and raised within the Lin Kuei, a fate that many shared within the clan, as it was how they recruited individuals, wanting to raise them from birth as assassins. Now we know very little about the early years of his life, as well as his family, but we do know that whilst being raised within the Lin Kuei, he became one of its deadliest assassins, specializing in hit and run tactics, with an affinity for ensnaring his enemies and using bombs on them. Now unlike some members of the Lin Kuei, Cyrax was rather social, mingling with his fellow brothers, and had rather close relationships with Kuai Liang, Smoke, and even the Grandmaster's son, Sector. Although the two didn't always see eye to eye, there was a sense of respect between the two, and the pair did work together on missions, so all seemed well, but this would all quickly fall into disarray. You see, during the events of the first game, where Outworlders seemingly on the brink of victory, the Lin Kuei would send their best warrior Bi-Han, the at the time Sub-Zero, to represent them during the tournament. But unfortunately for Bi-Han, when Earthrealm won the tournament, Sub-Zero was seemingly slain by the undead Spectre Scorpion, and this started to make the Grandmaster consider his options. You see, he believed that Bi-Han was the best of them, and seeing as how he was easily slain, he believed that the Lin Kuei needed to evolve, and that it was their humanity and traditions that was somewhat holding it back. So because of this, the Grandmaster would set in motion the Cyber Initiative, a plan to convert all members of the Lin Kuei into cybernetic ninjas, and this plan would start to come into fruition during the events of Mortal Kombat 2, becoming mandatory for all members. Now understandably, there were individuals in the clan that were against this, but this didn't stop the painful conversion at all, as they were captured and converted against their will, and this is a fate that fell upon Cyrax, succumbing to the Cyber Initiative alongside Sector, and in turn lose all form of free will, effectively becoming a puppet of the Grandmaster. Now after Cyrax's conversion, he and Sector were tasked with the job of tracking down the remaining Lin Kuei members, as they themselves needed to be cyberized. And this is where the two do come into contact with Kuai Liang and Smoke, as the new Sub-Zero was currently in the process of trying to track down his brother's killer. Now the ambush would be a somewhat success, as Cyrax and Sector were able to capture Smoke, but they would unfortunately lose track of Sub-Zero. Now after this point in time, the Grandmaster and in turn the Lin Kuei would side with Shao Kahn during Outworld's invasion of Earthrealm. So this brings us on to our third installment of the series, Mortal Kombat 3. Now in MK3, all hell really does break loose, as you see Shao Kahn was defeated in the second game, and thus out of frustration and anger, he would begin a full-scale invasion of Earthrealm, with the Lin Kuei of course by his side. So during the events of this game, Cyrax would be assigned the mission of killing all the Earthrealm defenders, including Sub-Zero. But in the midst of this onslaught, a cyberized Smoke would side with Sub-Zero, and together the two would defeat both Cyrax and Sector. Sub-Zero would reprogram Cyrax, giving him the mission of hunting down and killing Shao Kahn. But unfortunately for the cyborg, he's far too late. You see, Liu Kang was successful in defeating the Emperor once again, and sent him back home as a broken and beaten mess. Now due to Shao Kahn no longer being in Earthrealm, Cyrax had no purpose, and thus he would aimlessly wander into the desert, and was stranded in the wasteland. So this brings us on to our next game, Mortal Kombat 4. Now not too long after Outworld's defeat, Cyrax's body would be recovered by the Lin Kuei, as it did have a new leader at the helm, that being Sector. Believing his father to be a relic of the past, Sector killed his father in order to obtain title of Grandmaster himself. Having a new vision and image of what the Lin Kuei should be, he decided that it was time to go into the next phase, and that was the elimination and cyberization of all. But in order to do that, he needed to return the Lin Kuei back to its roots, and thus the clan would sever all ties to Earthrealm as well as Outworld, and lie deep within in the shadows, striking only for when it benefited the clan. So the Lin Kuei themselves actually play no part in the main narrative of Mortal Kombat 4 with Shinnok and Netherrealm's invasion. Instead, Sector solely focuses on destroying Sub-Zero, as he is still branded as a traitor, and thus Cyrax is sent after him. But it's here where we come to learn that Cyrax is having a bit of a crisis of his own. Although reborn as a mindless machine and instrument of the Lin Kuei, his psyche and consciousness was starting to break through his mental programming, and in a desperate attempt for salvation, he would reach out to the likes of Jackson Briggs and Sonya Blade so they could purge him of his programming. And after years of being enslaved to the clan, he was finally able to regain his sense of being, and as a form of gratitude towards them, Cyrax would become a member of the Special Forces and relocate to Outworld for assignments, keeping them up to date with any Outworld affairs. So this brings us on to our next game now, Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. Now, a lot of time does pass between the events of Mortal Kombat 4 and Deadly Alliance, with Cyrax still being located in Outworld. Unfortunately for him, during this time the world has seemingly been thrown into madness, with Shao Kahn and Liu Kang falling to the likes of Shang Tsung and Quan Chi. Everyone was now a target, and during the event of Deadly Alliance, Cyrax would be ambushed by the likes of Dramin, Moloch, and even Reptile. The cyborg couldn't catch a break, as his teleporter and comms were destroyed from the fight. Now stranded in Outworld, Cyrax had no way of returning back to Earthrealm. But this wasn't quite the end for him, as he would be approached by the vampiress Nitara, who wanted to strike a deal with the cyborg. Seeing that he was stranded, she would offer him the opportunity to return home if he assisted her in obtaining a portal stone. You see, Nitara was in fact a victim of Shao Kahn's invasion, and after her realm was conquered and merged with Outworld, she was forced to serve Shao Kahn. But with the Emperor now gone, she saw this as the perfect opportunity to sever her realm from Outworld's grasp, and she could only do that with a portal stone. So with no other options at hand, Cyrax would accept her deal, and this journey would lead them to Outworld's lava chamber. Cyrax would use his cybernetic augmentation in order to obtain the portal stone, so Nitara was able to release her home, and she would respect her end of the deal, swiftly sending Cyrax back to Earthrealm. So this brings us up to Cyrax's final appearance in the original timeline, Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Now, of the prophesied final battle of this series taking place in the Pyramid of Argus, Cyrax would fight on the forces of light against the darkness, attempting to stop the likes of Shiva from obtaining Blaze's power. But during this battle, much like nearly everyone else, Cyrax does perish. But this isn't quite the end of him, as during the climax of the battle, just before Raiden's executed by Shao Kahn, the Thunder God is able to send a message to his past self and in turn reboot the timeline. So this serves as a way of restarting the universe and send us all the way back to the events of the very first tournament. So this brings us up to the reboot game of the series, Mortal Kombat 9. Now, with the universe being rebooted, there has in fact been some slight tweaks and adjustments to the series. Cyrax does appear much earlier in this timeline than that of the original, making his first appearance in the MK1 section of the game, representing the Lin Kuei alongside Bi-Han and Sector. The trio can first be seen during the opening ceremony of where the tournament is finally set underway. Now, one obvious thing that we must point out here is that since this is set in the MK1 sequence of the series, Cyrax is still in fact human, and thus the Cyber Initiative hasn't exactly come into full effect yet. And while Cyrax for the most part doesn't play a huge role in the tournament, we do learn that he is in fact against the idea of the Cyber Initiative, believing that it will kill their humanity and instincts. Now, after being seen during the opening ceremony, he makes his next appearance during Scorpion's chapter, where the cursed Hell Spectre is determined to track down and kill Sub-Zero, as Hanzo still believes it was Bi-Han that killed his family. Now, when Hanzo attempts to confront Cyrax and Sector, a fight does break out, with the pair being defeated by Hanzo, but they do survive to fight another day, as Sub-Zero does appear, and Scorpion is finally able to claim vengeance against the Cryomancer. After this point, Cyrax wishes to return to his chambers, but it's here where he's confronted by Raiden, who in turn makes him question his own allegiance to the Lin Kuei, as the Thunder God himself is well aware of the Cyber Initiative and how it threatens their ideas and traditions, something that they both do agree on. Now, the two would shortly part ways after this, as Cyrax wished to ponder his thoughts and his options, but it's here where he's ambushed by Shiva and Baraka, ordered by Shang Tsung, believing that he may be a spy or a traitor. They were ordered to execute him, but Cyrax proved to be far too much for them to handle, and they are swiftly defeated. Clearly shaken from this, he begins to question not only his stance in the Lin Kuei, but the tournament himself, as after defeating Johnny Cage, he defies Shang Tsung's order to kill the actor, and in turn is brought aside by Sector, who tells him that he should follow his orders. But Cyrax refuses to sit idly by, and simply simply be a puppet of the Lin Kuei. So a fight does break out between the two, with Cyrax emerging victorious. After this point, Cyrax does disappear from the first tournament, having seemingly abandoned the Lin Kuei. Now, not long after the events of this, Liu Kang is able to win the tournament, and the Cyber Initiative is given the green light. Sadly for Cyrax, however, it seems like he was captured and forcibly converted against his will, being given the codename of LK4D4. He makes his first cybernetic appearance during Sub-Zero's chapter, of which his friend is understandably shocked to see his transformation. Now, much like the original timeline, Cyrax has been given the mission of tracking down all Lin Kuei members so that they can participate in the Cyber Initiative, but Sub-Zero isn't interested in this at all, still trying to track down Scorpion. So a fight breaks out between the two, with the Cryomancer defeating Cyrax. This, however, does not keep him down, as later during the chapter, after Sub-Zero has defeated Scorpion, he appears with Sector and other Lin Kuei units to restrain and capture Sub-Zero, and it's here where the Lin Kuei now align themselves with Outworld. So again, mirroring the original continuity, the Lin Kuei does play a part in the upcoming Earthrealm invasion after Shao Kahn is defeated in the MK2 section of the game. Now, Cyrax himself makes a very small appearance in the end half of the game, ambushing the Earthrealm defenders as they are formulating a plan to push back against Outworld's forces. And during this carnage, Cyrax goes toe to toe with the Shaman Nightwolf, but is defeated by the Mystic. And although the Lin Kuei do lose in this battle, they've weakened all of them for Sindel's arrival, to which he then of course does kill a lot of them. Now, after this point in time, the Lin Kuei disappears from the eyes of the world, especially after Shao Kahn's defeat, choosing to lurk in the shadows and somewhat rebuild the cybernetic forces. But it's worth noting, they do start actively hunting down former members of the Lin Kuei, as they still do wish to convert them. Mortal Kombat X comic book series. Now, while Cyrax is absent in Mortal Kombat X as his own character, he does play a rather important role in the comic series. After Havoc falls and the Blood Code is defeated, Sub-Zero sets out to somewhat revive the Lin Kuei, believing that the only way to get rid of this threat is by controlling it. This is, however, no easy feat, as he's forced to battle an army of cyborgs just to get to the mainframe alone, but the numbers game proves to be too much for him, as he is restrained and brought before Cyrax and Sector. But this isn't why he entered the mainframe. You see, he uploaded a virus that purged Cyrax of Sector's control, so the pair could fight side by side to defeat the Crimson Cyborg. But upon Sector's death, something rather unexpected happens. Due to Cyrax being second in command, the title of Grand Master in fact falls to him, much to his shock. But this isn't ever a title that Cyrax wanted, especially like this. Wanting the Lin Kuei to be something more than just hollow killing machines, he gives the title of Grand Master to Sub-Zero and his blessing, believing that he should restart the clan on a fresh slate. And thus Cyrax starts up the self-destruct sequence, so Sub-Zero can restart anew. Now, this brings us on to Mortal Kombat 11. Now, a significant amount of time has passed between the comic books and 11, and although Cyrax is canonically dead in the main continuity, when two timelines are merged, that being the MK2 section of MK9 and the present, Cyrax lives once again. You see, the timelines were merged together because the Titan Kronika had grown tired of Raiden constantly altering her perception of time, believing that the only way was to restart the timeline. Kronika would merge the timelines together in order to call on allies from the past, with the Lin Kuei of course serving under her. Now, to no one's surprise, the Cyber Lin Kuei are once again hell-bent on converting the current Lin Kuei into cyborgs, with Sector, Cyrax and surprisingly Frost leading the charge. This is understandably something that Sub-Zero is extremely displeased with, and thus he teams up with Hanzo Hasashi in order to infiltrate the facility. Upon entering, the pair battle and defeat the likes of Cyrax and Frost, for which Cyrax is then once again purged of Sector's influence. But before he's able to celebrate his freedom, the trio would be attacked by Sector, attempting to stop them from destroying the cybernetic facility. But the strength of the trio proves to be too much, as Sector and his cyborgs are defeated. Now, unfortunately for Cyrax, by destroying the facility and its communication network, Cyrax will once again perish. But after realizing what he is, this is in fact a fate he embraces with open arms, wanting Sub-Zero to once again redeem the Lin Kuei. So Cyrax does die very early on in Mortal Kombat 11, understandably very different to both timeline counterparts. But yes, this is in fact the very last appearance of Cyrax in the Mortal Kombat series. I absolutely love and adore who and what this character is all about. I cannot deny that this character gets it really rough in almost every game, being forcibly converted against his will, being beaten down on almost every occasion, and in the end taking his own life on 2 separate occasions for a better future. Cyrax is a true hero, and someone who I do feel deserves a little bit more love. Now, that being said, said, what are your thoughts on Cyrax? Would you like to see him return, or possibly be DLC for Mortal Kombat 11, as he does have a fresh new redesign in MK11? Please do comment down below. And of course, since we are talking about Cyrax, rest assured that Sector isn't too far behind, so you will must be definitely getting that very soon. So yeah guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Now if possible, before it wraps up, let's try getting it to about 500 likes, and please do not forget to tick that bell, as we do have DC Fandom this week, and we may be getting some more Mortal Kombat content on the way, possibly some Injustice stuff, and for sure some Suicide Squad content. So please do ring the bell again if you are interested. Now as always guys, please comment, like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Please take care, and I'll see you all next time.